He left a signature, a simple happy face, drawn at the bottom of his letters, a taunt, a confession, a symbol of the man behind the murders. For years, the happy face killer haunted in the shadows, but his crimes almost went unnoticed. But someone else took the fall first.
So how does a serial killer confess in plain sight and still get away with it?
Tonight we unravel the story of Keith Jefferson, the long-haul trucker whose twisted desire for recognition finally led to his downfall.
This is Occupation Murderer. I'm Mary.
And I'm Nevaeh, and this is the case of the happy face killer.
So his real name was Keith Hunter Jesperson. He was born in Canada, but he committed his murders in America, and he was born on April 6th, 1995.
He murdered at least 8 women between 1990 and 1995, but claimed about 160 of them.
He was married and had 3 kids. Most victims were sex workers and transients. He went after these women because they already had problems, so they were easy victims.
His preferred method of killing was strangulation. He started killing and torturing animals at the age of 5 or 6, and he strangled those as well.
Jesperson recalled his alcoholic father beating him with a belt and sometimes knocking him unconscious. His aggression intensified when he was 12 and his family moved to Selah, Washington before he had trouble adjusting to school.
Jefferson narrowly beat one of his bullies to death. He described the time as a dissociative experience in which he felt like he stepped out of his own body and watched someone else pummel the boy. He later attempted to drown another bully and only stopped after a lifeguard intervened.
After graduating from high school in 1973, Jesperson opted not to go to college and instead pumped gas and worked for his father, pursuing a developing passion for long-haul trucking. At 20 years old, he married a local student named Rose on her 18th birthday, and that's whenever they had the 3 kids. Their 2 daughters were named Melissa and Carrie, and a son named Jason.
Melissa said Jefferson swerved to hit cats on the road and had once hung her 4 kittens on a clothesline and laughed as they squirmed. Another time he strangled one with his bare hands. Melissa told the Daily Mail, "I remember the smile on his face and I could see the blood coming off my dad's forearms. But that didn't seem to faze him. He just continued until all of a sudden the cat went limp."
He started becoming moodier and began talking about how to commit the perfect murder, but his family didn't think much about it because he read true detective magazines, and it just talked about investigations and homicides and, stuff like that, just to do with murders.
5 months later, Jefferson and Rose got a divorce. He committed his first murder. The victim was 21-year-old Tanja Bennett. He picked her up at a bar in Portland. He said that he just wanted sex that night. He said comments were made and different things, and an altercation happened, and I struck her. I actually had hit her in the face, and for some reason I just kept hitting her in the face, and because of that I feared going to prison for slugging her in the face and causing her bodily injury, so I killed her.
That night he killed her. He left a confession letter signed with a happy face. But the 2 people convicted of this murder was Laverne Plavlenick and her boyfriend, John.
Plavlenick falsely confessed to police, claiming that John had forced her to help murder Bennett. Her confession led to both of them being convicted. John even pleaded guilty to avoid the death penalty. After the murder of Bennett, 6 more murders followed. The victims were Cynthia Lynn Rose, Patricia Skipple, Susanna, Lori Ann Pentland, Angela Mae Subrise, and one other victim that is still unidentified to this day, and he referred to as Claudia.
With each murder he committed, he wrote a confession letter with evidence and signed it with a smiley face. He sent those letters to the authorities and some newspapers. On August 30th, 1992, the body of an unidentified woman was found strangled to death and bound by duct tape on a roadside in Blythe, California, just a few miles from the Arizona border. Jesperson said he killed her after he agreed to give her a ride, and she allegedly tried to, quote-unquote, play him.
1 month later, the body of Cynthia Lynn Rose, age 32, was found behind the Blueberry Hill Cafe in Turlock, California, more than 500 miles north of Blythe. She was believed to be a sex worker and, like the others, was strangled to death. In November 1992, the body of 26-year-old Lori Pentland was found in Salem, Oregon. Jefferson claimed she was a sex worker who tried to double her price.
On June 3rd, 1993, the body of an unknown woman was discovered on the side of California State Road 152 near Gilroy in the San Francisco Bay Area. According to the Radford profile, the Jane Doe was dismissed as an overdose victim and listed as a street person. But in 2006, Jesperson wrote a letter to the county DA and confessed to killing the woman. In April 2022, she was identified as Patricia Skipple, a mother from Colton, Oregon.
Jefferson confessed to raping, beating, and strangling another unidentified woman in August 1994, stating he, quote-unquote, put her out of her misery, as revealed in Snap Notorious. She was identified in 2023 as Suzanne Kellenberg, a Tampa-based drifter whose body was left in a wooded area off Interstate 10 near Holt, Florida. Jefferson's seventh victim was Angela Subrise, 21, of Oklahoma City, whom Jefferson reportedly met at a Spokane, Washington truck stop in January 1995. He had agreed to take her to Colorado to visit her father before killing her inside his truck in Laramie County, Wyoming. She was eventually discovered in Nebraska. He strapped the woman beneath his big rig, the New York Post reported. Her body disintegrated against the hot asphalt as he drove.
I think that's absolutely crazy. Could you imagine being strapped to a truck and then somebody dragging you on hot asphalt?
Like, did he kill her before he drug her against the ground?
I think he did, but there's no telling because I've seen like some websites say that he would strangle them in and out of consciousness and then eventually kill them somehow. So I guess, but I'm not sure.
He was really rubbing salt in the wounds.
Yeah, he was. Jesperson's final victim was his 41-year-old girlfriend, Julie Ann Winningham. He killed her in Wausaukee, Washington, about 20 miles northeast of Portland, believing she was only after Jesperson's money. Jesperson said he gagged her with duct tape, raped her in the sleeping cab of his truck, and strangled her. And you have to remember that he did have the big truck. He was a long-haul trucker, so he had the whole back area where he slept. And Jesperson's ties to Julie with his letter to a local paper and confession he sent his brother led police to the truth.
Palvinick and John spent years in prison until Jefferson began confessing to his crimes in 1995, including the murder of Bennett. Jefferson is serving several life sentences for murders of all his victims at Oregon State Penitentiary in Salem.
I'm watching the movie, not the movie, it's actually a TV show, but I'm not finished. I'm on like the third or fourth episode, and I definitely recommend it. It goes into like detail that the guy is a psycho. Jesperson is definitely a psycho, and I'm not going to spoil it for anybody who decides to watch it, but I definitely recommend the show because, you know, it's actually really good.
And what is it on?
It plays on Paramount Plus, Hulu, Fubo TV, Sling TV, Amazon Prime, and YouTube TV.
I feel like after everyone listens to the podcast, they should go watch the TV show.
It's definitely a good idea because I found out stuff on the TV show because it's based on a true story. You know, everything's based off what happened with the daughter, and the daughter is actually she's actually really nice, and she tells about stuff that happens on the TV show that's in the TV show. But I found out stuff on the TV show without researching, so
like half of our notes or half of our research came from like your TV show?
No, not a little bit did. I found out stuff from there that I didn't find in research. So
thank you for joining us on today's episode. We hope the chilling tale you've heard leaves you questioning everything you thought you knew.
If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review the podcast.
Until next time, stay safe.